Good evening, AISC members and BLE and BNF committee members and facilitators, and all the KDEF staff and all others who are joining us. We want to thank you for attending our Accelerating Innovation Subcommittee meeting and welcome all of you. We're happy that you were able to join us. And I'm just going to give you a few updates about what we've been doing. In the last month, we've had some engaging cross-committee discussions. BNF and VLE joined our January 8th meeting, and we also were invited to join their meetings in January. I was able to attend the VLE meeting, but not BNF. However, Jennifer and Andre and Susan and Laura were also in attendance at one or both committee meetings, and they'll be able to share more with you if you have any questions. Our updates from the BNF meeting, BNF noted that our accelerating innovation ideas for the system of systems and our principles resonated with them. They also noted that they wanted to make sure that accountability and assessment will be looked at across all grade spans and not just high school. VLE is concerned about looking at different supports for the schools based on where they are on their path towards vibrant learning. They noted that schools are at different levels of innovation and will need different support. Our conversations between committees have been valuable, and the contributions from everyone helped with coordination and planning. Our hope is for us to focus on continuing connecting across committees. Our agenda today is a discussion about cross-committee ideas for a learning agenda. And we'll be sharing a little bit more about learning agendas as we go into our meeting. And just a reminder, the moonshot to build a prosperous Kentucky, we will launch an accountable system that is meaningful and useful to all learners. Again, thank you for joining us, and we're going to go ahead and get our meeting started.
Andre, I think it's over to you now.
Yeah, thank you. Just trying to get this document hooked up. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see you all. Jennifer and I are going to talk a little bit about the learning agenda concept and where we are in our thinking regarding that. Jennifer will talk to you in a moment about a learning opportunity that's coming up in a few weeks, and then toward the end of the meeting we'll also talk about some concrete next steps with which you can engage in this process. But I want to talk very briefly about the broader concept of the learning agenda. So what's a learning agenda? A learning agenda is sort of similar to a research agenda. It's essentially a way of saying to us all, what are the things that we want to learn about? We did, in fact, something like that last year, as you may remember, when we were doing the mid-year AISC report. We had these two blocks of work where we were looking inside and outside of Kentucky. We developed certain specific protocols for looking into the literature and talking to people, and then we summarize that in the mid-year report. And now we're at a similar place, but this time it's really broader and cuts across the different committees. So the goal is for the Cook Council at large to come to some agreement about what the different kinds of areas are that they want to learn about, how people want to go about learning about them, and hence Jennifer's going to talk about a learning opportunity in a second. And really, practically speaking, develop different kinds of questions for these different learning efforts. Another thing that we'll going to be thinking about in the next several weeks is, and again, this is not just us, this is why we're a little bit careful in sort of making broad claims too early, but there's this idea of building upon the concept of the working groups that we had at the last Cool Council convening. You may remember that you yourself and other members have sort of said that this is a really valuable activity, and we need to sort of build that out and do that in service of a learning agenda. So there's a document that currently exists as sort of like an early draft of just get us all starting to think about this. This is not sort of like officially approved, but it was sort of a way for us to get started and nudge everybody to say like, what about this is aligned with how you're thinking about this, or what your committee is doing. That document technically exists in the folder under a learning agenda subfolder, and you can look at that. And in that folder is also in the appendix a list of the questions that the VLE committee is currently posing around this learning opportunity. We'll get back to them a little bit later. But today we just wanted to say to you, we are all working on this, and we will be asking you for additional kinds of input, and we'll do this probably at multiple levels. So one level is sort of the broader, higher level conceptual level, and then another one is in much more practical terms in particular situations, just like this learning opportunity that's coming up. Jennifer, do you have anything that you want to add at this point?
No, Andre, I was going to share the learning opportunity when you're finished.
Okay, so then why don't you share that right now? That's good.
Okay, great. Absolutely. So the Accelerating Innovation Standing Committee members have been invited to an L3 meeting. The L3 is a local labs of learning, and these districts who are part of the L3, which include many of our members' districts, the districts are in collaboration with the Kentucky Department of Education, and they provide a shared professional learning experience. So the local labs of learning, the leaders, they get together on a regular basis to share their processes, where they are in dedicating their new innovation toward vibrant learning experiences. So it's a community that they are looking to do innovative practices and building toward what we as a Cool Council have really been exploring. Now, these districts, they have a commitment to implementing these big initiatives, such as personalized learning and furthering those conversations in Kentucky. So those innovative practices. So that, again, they meet on a regular basis, and the Accelerating Innovation Committee members have been invited to their March meeting. They're meeting in Frankfort at the 300 building. It's the training rooms in the Sauer building, and they are meeting from 9 to noon on March 6th. So we're invited as a committee. So we really encourage you to come. As an Accelerated Innovation Committee, then we are going to have an opportunity to meet in person, or if you can't meet in person, online, from then 12:30 to 3:30, and have a working session in preparation for the April Cool convening. So if you are able to come, you have an opportunity to meet with L3 district leads that morning from 9 to noon. Lunch will be provided, and then we'll meet as an Accelerated Innovation Committee from 12:30 till 3:30. So you are welcome to attend. I'm going to put the meeting invite in chat. Kathy Stovall, our chair, shared it with you in an email last Thursday as a reminder, her reminder email about tonight's meeting. She also put the invitation to the L3 and the Accelerated Innovation Committee meeting. So if you have the opportunity to come in person, the CGSA grant will pay for your mileage if you spend the night before, because it's an early morning and some people have to travel a good distance. They'll pay for hotels and also, if you spend the night, you get your meals reimbursed. And then the between the two sessions, the L3 and the Accelerated Innovation, lunch will be provided at that time. So we really want you to participate in the in-person L3, and then if you can't come in person, at least be part of the hybrid Accelerated Innovation Committee meeting, because we're going to invite some of the district leaders of the L3 to meet with us that afternoon. So we'll have the opportunity to ask really poignant questions that pertain to our menu of options, our system of systems, and really get our opportunity to speak directly to those L3 district leads that have the opportunity to say. So we really want you to participate in this learning activity and be a part of this exciting work. So let me
Jennifer.
pause there and see if there's any questions.
Jennifer, I just want to thank you or whoever made the arrangements to have us be able to be a part of that, because I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. I have felt all along that these L3s have something to offer our group in terms of our work moving forward. So I think this is going to be a great learning opportunity and a great time to engage with them.
Thanks, Jerry. We're really excited about the opportunity as well. We're going to be part of their meeting. We get to sit and listen to their discussions, and then some of them hopefully will accept our invitations, which I think they have. A few of them are able to stay all day and speak to us directly. So I'm excited about the opportunity to talk with them. And Laura put in chat, thank you, Laura. The L3 is in person only, so that's not going to be broadcast, but the afternoon Accelerated Innovation is going to be offered both in person and online. It'll be a Zoom meeting. Karen, I have to thank Karen Dodd for the funding and being able to provide the funds
right out of my bank account. You're welcome.
No, we appreciate the opportunity, Karen. We really do. So, Betty, do you have? I see you opened your mic.
Oh, didn't intend to.
Oh, okay. All right. So, please complete that invite. If you can come, please do. If you're not able to, then please note that as well, so that we can make arrangements and we can make plans for that. Paul put in a note in chat. Just want to note that the morning of March 6th is a number of L3 districts will be sharing their progress in developing potential approaches to local accountability. Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. All right. So at this point, we've only had one person to complete that invite. So please take the opportunity to do that. And the deadline to complete that invite to let us know if you are coming or not is February 15th. So if you can't make commitment tonight, then please complete that invite registration, or if you can't come, just let us know that as well by February 15th. And we'll send out, and I'm sure Kathy will send a reminder email, as well as Susan Strange, our partner, as well. At this point, I think that I'm going to turn it to Susan and Suzanne.
Thank you, Jennifer. And yes, to reiterate, thank you, Jennifer and Karen and the whole KDE team for making that happen. I just want to make them note that this is happening because of all of you at the November convening. Our committee was really engaged and vocal about, hey, we want to do site visits, and two, we want to get together in person and get our work done in person, because we find that so productive. And so the KDE team was able to sort of make that happen. While it's not quite a site visit, I think it'll be even richer potentially than a site visit, hearing from so many L3 districts at one time. So thank you. We're digging now sort of providing you an update on what's happened since we last met January 8th. Not all of you were able to attend. Very understandable because it was a 3-hour meeting in the middle of the workday, so we get it. But we were also really thrilled with the engagement we did get, not just from this committee, but also from other committee members and facilitators who were able to make the time to be here. So we'll give you a quick update on where we are and what's happened since our January 8th meeting. And then Suzanne will get us jumping into our task for today. We're hoping, even though this is a short meeting, we're hoping still to accomplish some work and move our menu of options thinking forward. So I am just going to share my screen really quickly. Last time when we were together, we were working in a Jamboard to generate ideas about what kind of evidence might be appropriate within a menu of options kind of indicator within an accountability system that would be evidence of more vibrant learning. And we had really great discussions in breakout rooms and lots of ideas on 5 or 6 different pages of a Jamboard. And so what this picture represents here that I'm sharing is not any changing of words, but just pulling together all those ideas and stickies onto one single image so we can process it more easily together. This slide is the slide that we shared when we went to the other committee. So as Kathy mentioned in the opening, we went to the Bold New Futures Committee and we went to the Vibrant Learning Experiences Committee to share our brainstorm and also elicit their feedback and additional ideas about what we might want to consider. And in order to help them process this information more quickly, we and Andre specifically sort of categorized the ideas in this way where we have sort of indicators or evidence, menu options more focused on the student experience, menu options more focused on learning outcomes or outcomes that we care about, and then more cross-cutting system level considerations, evaluation level considerations. And then in blue, they were more sort of like the mechanics of how we might get these indicators operationalized. And so there's quite a lot to process here, and we won't spend time today digging into this image in particular, but I just wanted to let you know that we did condense the ideas. We didn't change any of the words in order to share them. This is how we condense them in order to share them with the other committees, and Kathy dug into some of the feedback that we heard. Our original plan was to use some time in this meeting in February to evaluate our options. Once we've generated ideas, we then wanted to evaluate, okay, what makes sense given our design principles? What makes sense given our policy context? Sort of looking at evaluation through different lenses. However, when we as facilitators are trying to figure out, okay, how might we structure that evaluation? We realized we really needed to have another conversation. We needed one more digging deeper into these ideas. Like, what does it really mean to have field trips or site visits? What does it really mean that students have choice? And how might that look within a menu of option indicator? And so, so what we've done in order to just get to one level deeper on each of these indicators is we've taken each indicator and put it into a table. So again, we really tried to not change the language, not change the idea that was put on the Jamboard, but instead put the menu option all the way on the left side of this table. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat now so you can all be sort of following along. The left side of the table, the first left-hand column, is all the different menu option ideas that you came up with. And what we'd like to do is sort of double click on each idea and think about, okay, what does this really mean to you? And we've done this for sort of 3 examples to give you a sense of what we mean by double clicking or digging deeper. And so I took the student capstone project, the student reflections based on their learning experiences, and teacher evaluations documenting the implementation of vibrant learning experiences, and sort of expanded, okay, if I were to be the one that came up with this idea, what would I have been thinking, or what would I have likely been thinking about in terms of, okay, where does the source of evidence come from? What might the indicator itself look like, or the menu option itself look like? And then sort of what would the state supports be involved with operationalizing that? So you can see there's one for sort of a student outcomes type indicator there, one for a student experience type indicator, and one for some other kind. In this case, it's sort of teacher evaluation, fidelity of implementation kind of indicator. So I'm not going to read through all the text because I think it's too much and frankly just not necessary for this meeting. Happy to answer any questions. I think it's helpful there just as a guide if you're feeling stuck in the next sort of conversation that Suzanne is going to tee up for you now. But I'm happy to answer any questions before I turn it over to Suzanne about sort of where were we on January 8th, and then how did we get to sort of this table here? Any questions? All right, Suzanne, why don't you take it away?
All right, so we want to make sure that we value some time for you to think as an individual and to type some things into the document yourself before we really dig in and have any conversation about that. There are some blue boxes that are on the chart so that if you're more comfortable putting some thoughts there and you're not really thinking like, is this evidence? Is this an indicator? What do I need from the state? What might this look like? And you just want to take a step back and think about some things in the blue box. The blue box is just an open-ended place. You don't have to even stick to the questions there. If there's things that you are, it could even be questions you're asking, but it may be that you want to capture some of your ideas in the blue box around that menu option or potential menu option. What we'd like to do is to give you, I was thinking about 10 minutes of time, and we'll see where we are with the 10 minutes, but then at 10 minutes, we'll bring ourselves back together, and that way we can have a conversation about some of the things that people have written in the document. And you feel free to jump around, like find something you feel comfortable writing about. And it may be something you put on the Jamboard or something that you've even experienced yourself that you want to type a little bit about, jump around, and maybe even look at some things that other people are writing, and that might help you get your juices flowing too. Do you have any what questions might you have about this next step of the process? About what you'd be asked to do?
I think the idea here is really just to find one or two, right? So read through the whole list and you say, oh, I wrote that, or oh, I was in the group that came up with that idea, or maybe something just strikes you that you didn't have any relationship to. That's fine. It's just, I think the idea is just choose one or two to fill out here. Part of this is helping us prioritize in a way, right? If you're writing about it and you're elaborating on it, we're going to assume maybe that means it's important to you as well.
Andre brought up a good point for me, that it's important to note that the rows are not necessarily mutually exclusive. And you may even find that you're thinking of something that isn't already captured. And, this is an editable document. If you find that like, oh, wait, I'm now thinking that this could be a potential menu option, like feel free to add a row if that might be the case. So some of these ideas definitely overlap. So jump in where it makes sense to you. And I'm going to set my phone for 10 minutes and we can get started in the document. And then we'll come back in at 5:35. Thanks. I've got 10 minutes. I see that there's a lot of people that are still working in the document, and I think that that's great. And I don't want to have anyone stop what they're doing. So continue your thinking there. Um, but I also know that we've got other things on the agenda, and I want to make sure we have some opportunity to discuss some things that people may want to bring up to the group, or as we're looking across, if there's questions that people have or things that you wanted to lift up about where we're at. Um, and I also wanted to mention, given that you all are still working in this and we're getting a lot done, and there's a lot of really good thinking in this document, I don't want anyone to feel limited to doing this now. That if you find that you have time to come back into this document or to work on it in the coming days, that this is something that our facilitation group probably won't spend a lot of time in. I'm looking at some of their faces before Friday, but we'll look at this again as a group, a facilitation group on Friday. So this is a living document, though, that if you wanted to work in it before then you could come back into this document and continue your work.
Also, Suzanne, if we want to do a quick poll on the room, if people could use 5 more minutes, I think we do have it in the time to spare in the agenda. If I don't know if you think 5 more minutes would be good, maybe give us a head nod or a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Let's keep working for 5 more minutes. Oh, Suzanne, you're on mute.
Yeah, we'll do 5 more.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know about you all, but I feel like I could type in this document even longer. So I was typing when the timer went off this time. So I'm excited about this, all of this work, and feel like asynchronously we've just got a whole bunch of stuff done at the same time in parallel there. So yay. I know our next agenda item we were hoping to get to in just a few minutes, right? So how much time do you think we have for discussion or closure on this, Susan?
Andre, I think we can get if we can take until 5:50. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, you or Jennifer, sorry, you were going to be introducing the idea from BLE. Do I have it wrong?
Oh, either way, we'll tag team. For now, it's Jennifer, I think, but if not,
Yeah.
I can certainly do it.
Sure, and I think that, if we have just about 5 minutes, I mean, I think because this is going so well and we're getting a lot of feedback, I don't want to stymie that. So let's have a good discussion.
All right. So I'm going to first pause and see if there's anybody that wanted to put some of your thoughts for the group in the chat, or unmute yourself and just have a conversation about what is bubbling up for you as you've spent some time digging into this document and working on some ideas.
As I'm going through the document, I'm just thinking about, will we be sharing this with the L3s in any way? Because I think it might, well, I guess when we make our agenda for our March 6th afternoon meeting, this might be something that we want to consider. Because they would have, I can see them having a lot of input into this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Kathy, I might.
Laura says she feels like they'll further inform our thinking here. Andre, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there's multiple representations that really get people thinking about different aspects of the problem. And so I think you're right to say, like, yeah, when I see people write these different ideas down, some people talk about initiatives, some people talk about like instrumentation, some people talk about evidence that can be gathered. And let's say if we cooked up our own set of questions in advance of the meeting, or if we added questions to the VLE learning agenda, it's really at the end of the day all about questions and the investigative lens that we want to take. So I think really it all goes together, to your point, Kathy, and I think I would probably encourage us all to sort of like organize that a little bit more in the next few weeks with member input, and then share that. I think then sharing it with the L3s could be really productive. So it's a good idea.
Oh, I like what Jerry said. He said it would be helpful to see the alignment of this document with the works of the L3s.
And I would imagine that they may have some things that they would want to add that we haven't considered. I'm thinking of some things that we saw at those first showcases or at the second in-person meeting when people talk to us that I don't know that we have all of those ideas on our chart.
I'd be interested in, especially with the student ones, the ones that are more about what the students are doing, to pitch this to either the Pritchard Committee student panel or some of the superintendent student advisory groups, and to get their take on this, to think about what's lacking right now, particularly in their high school experience, looking back on K-12.
To add to Sarah, I think, we have members of the committee who engage with students every day. It's a great opportunity just to ask our students that we engage every day around these issues.
Does anybody want to share what they wrote or how they were thinking about this as they were writing? What came up for you? Or is there one that you feel particularly passionate about that you want to share?
I was on mute and I thought I wasn't. I was saying that one of the things that I was concerned that I had questions about and had kind of struggled with writing any response to it, but wanted to know what people were thinking is the one on student reflections based on their learning experiences. I'm not quite sure what we're looking for with that particular one.
Looks like somebody added some text there about the reflection indicates that they have an understanding and that their work is grounded in what their goals are for the future, right? So who wrote added that? Would you be able to speak to what you were thinking there?
I think I did.
Oh.
I'm just trying to make sure I got it right, but unless somebody else wants to own up to it, I'm almost certain I did. I was thinking that was exactly what I was thinking and wondering, am I going in the right direction?
So I am hesitant when I read the thing on that one about using surveys. Just in my experience with students and surveys. And I thought about maybe rephrasing that one as reflection on their capstone project or on their collection of their work, to show or to self-assess, how different assignments, different work that they've completed at school relates to the skills identified in the portrait of a learner or something like that, where they really have to kind of reflect in writing is what I was thinking, rather than just a quick little survey where a lot of times they're quick to just click something and be done.
Yeah, Darlene, I think you bring up a good point there, and we may be talking about two different things there. Because I do think that there would be some value in gathering some survey data from different stakeholders to see the different perception of what students think about their learning. And I mean, if you take an example like student engagement, some surveys to find out their level of student engagement compared to what the teachers in the school might say and what parents might say, to see if there's a difference between those three groups, I think could be helpful too. I think what you're talking about, Darlene, really gets at the heart though of having them talk about the projects or the capstone or whatever it may be. I think that would be gathered in something other than a survey like you're talking about.
So what you said, it does kind of make sense. Most teachers do like at least in high school, do, like an end of the semester or end of the year survey just for their own feedback from students. I know our principals encourage us to do it, and they provide like a format or we can make our own, but they don't really require us to submit that to them for review. It's just for our own, reflection and to grow from it. So
Yeah,
maybe something like that.
I've just found that oftentimes that's where some of the disconnect takes place, is what, teachers may express one thing about how learning took place in their classroom, and students have a completely different opinion on that. And when you can bring those two together, then you start to fix some of the issues that are out there.
I think this is a good example of just how much there is to unpack here, even with just talking about one of these potential menu options. Like Andre in the chat pointed out a whole host of considerations that we'll have to think through for each one of these. So does anybody want to lift up a different example while we have a couple of minutes and talk through their ideas related to that? And as Suzanne said, this certainly isn't your last opportunity. You'll have, all week to be in this document, and then we'll bring it up again in March.
I actually had some questions around the identification of field trips for accountability. I'm sorry, I apologize. I wasn't able to be in the last two meetings, so I don't know where that thinking came from. Or are you thinking of it in a different way than normally connecting field trips? Learning.
You bring up a good point, Betty, and I don't know who typed that into the document. I think that some of the ideas that were generated on the Jamboard, I don't know if it was just evidence of VLE, or if it was people thinking about it through an accountability lens, which are different. That was one of the reasons why we wanted to have this opportunity for people to write, is because some of the ideas that were generated, we weren't sure, like you, like how does this fit into a system like that? And we're not saying that it's a bad idea. We just want to know more about that thinking, as you mentioned. So if anyone has thoughts on that, that maybe it was your idea, maybe it wasn't, then we'd love to hear that too.
I think as you read through these and as we continue to work on it, we're going to see that there are commonalities in many of these where we may, we may collapse some of these together. So for example, that field trip might be an example of a community-based experience that they would have, rather than it being a separate item all its own. And I think that will just come with time as we continue to work on this, that some of those items will collapse together.
I think that's good insight, Jerry. In the interest of time, I do want to turn it back over to Jennifer because she's already been generous in giving up some of her time for us today. Thank you. Thank you all for engaging.
Thank you, Susan. And I did not want to cut off the good conversation. However, we do have a request from our friends in the Vibrant Learning Experiences Standing Committee, because they are preparing for learning as well. So we're all trying to learn. We've talked about many ways to learn, and we have the opportunity as an Accelerating Innovation Committee to talk and visit directly with the L3s. I've put a link in the chat for us. It's the VLE site visit learning agenda. And basically, what this is if you have the opportunity to speak directly to administrators, teachers, district leaders about innovative practices that are happening in their school, what would you want to know? So let me share my screen here. And they've asked us to fill in this this table, and it could be any number of types of questions for learning. So because they are going to have the opportunity to talk with district leaders and schools that are doing some innovative practices, and they wanted from you and the other standing committees what you would like answered, because we're all collectively trying to explore and understand this menu of options, system of systems approach. So we're trying to get, as a cool council, trying to get more information and better understand what opportunities are out there, what's happening within the schools. So as they plan their trips, they would like for us to provide some information that we think is important for the learning for us as a collective council. So if we could just take a couple of minutes, and I see some anonymous raccoons in there right now and other types of animals. So thank you for that. So if we could just take a couple of minutes and then put in any type of questions that come to you right now, and then we will finish out here. I've got a couple of minutes. And then you can continue to work in this, putting in additional questions. And it's an open link. It's a Google link, so you can continue to do that even after this meeting. So let me pause here just a minute while you are inserting your comments. Questions? Okay, that does take us to 6 o'clock. I just want to remind you also to complete the invite for the March 6th L3, our learning opportunity. So we really encourage you to come and participate if you can. If you can be there in person, you'll get to hear the L3s and then have a working session where we'll continue to dive deeper into these list that we generated from the January meeting, and we'll continue the conversation and learning together toward this possible menu of options. Kathy, I will turn it back to you to close us out.
Well, again, I just want to thank everyone. It's always so rewarding and exciting to have all of you be so committed to our committees for whatever reasons. When you can come and you can't come, your communication with us to let us know what's going on. And as Jennifer said, we look forward to either seeing you online or in person on March 6th. And if you have any questions, you're always invited to send me any questions that you have, and I'll do my best to get my answers from anyone that has answers for me. But we have a great supportive team, and thank you again. Thank you to all our guests, all our other committee members who are our friends. We thank you also for joining us, and all the leadership that's part of this. And again, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you on March 6th.